This episode is brought to you by PayPal. You had plans for the last days of summer. And back-to-school shopping has its own plans. School supplies, dorm essentials, your list doesn't stop. Neither does the spending. But when you pay in full with PayPal, you can pay over time. No interest, no fees. Check out with PayPal and get back to summer. Subject to approval. Learn more at paypal.com/payinfor. PayPal Inc. NMLS 910457.
Back to school is busy enough. The last thing you need is shopping that makes it harder. Whether you're moving into a dorm, your first apartment, or just getting organized for the semester, Wayfair makes it easy to get everything you need in one place. Furniture, bedding, storage, decor, study essentials, all at prices you'll love, with fast shipping before move-in day. Get everything you need for back-to-school season. Shop Wayfair.com today.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
This message is brought to you by Apple Card. Shave ice by the beach. A trip to the state fair. And a throwback flick at the local drive-in. They're more than just items to check off the summer bucket list. They're also opportunities to earn 2% daily cash back when you use your Apple Card with Apple Pay. Apply for Apple Card now and use in-minutes with Apple Pay. Subject to credit approval. Apple Card is issued by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch. Terms and more at applecard.com.
The new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't undo your last hire. The human postponer. They were the master of one phrase. I'll circle back on that. But 3 months later, you were the one doing all their work and wondering how big that circle is. But LinkedIn Hiring Pro can take the hiring load off your plate by automating the hiring busy work from the initial job post to scheduling interviews. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
Right now, get up to 15% off select storage solutions. Put heavy-duty HDX totes to good use, protecting what's important to you. The solid, impact-resistant design prevents cracking, and the clear base and sides make items easy to find even when the totes are stacked. Find select shelving and tote storage up to 15% off at the Home Depot to organize every room in your home, from your garage to your attic. Visit HomeDepot.com. How doers get more done.
American soccer fans, welcome to episode 197 of the USA Soccer Cast. We're bringing you everything about the U.S. national teams, the players, the leagues, and everything else that impacts the game of soccer in these United States. I'm Donald Wine, and we're going to split this show up into kind of two parts here. The first part, obviously, we're going to talk about Mauricio Pochettino returning to the United States men's national team. Also, a couple of games coming up both in September and October for the men and the women's national teams. And then on the other side, we're going to talk about all of this FIFA nonsense. Well, maybe not all of it, but at least some of it as it continues to evolve. But we'll save that for after the break. The first thing is, with regards to the men's national team, the biggest story of the last week has been the fact that Mauricio Pochettino last week signed on to continue as the men's national team head coach with a new deal that will keep him in place through the 2030 World Cup. Now, I will also mention that there is some language in the contract. We have not seen the language, but there is some language reportedly, according to US Soccer, that allows for a buyout of some sort on either side should either side decide not to continue with this arrangement, with this partnership, with this marriage until the end of the 2030 World Cup. So Mauricio Pochettino is here. And of course, he led the team to the round of 16 of the 2026 World Cup, and there had been numerous reports prior to the tournament that he was engaging with contract extensions with U.S. Soccer. They had tried to keep him around by having dinner with him and offering him some things, and he said that he would decide at some point after the World Cup was over. He finally did that. And so now it's about what's next for Mauricio Pochettino. First off, I've said, both in written and on this show, that this is a good thing. The continuity of having a coach return is a good thing. I know I am overlooking a lot of history with regards to the U.S. men's national team specifically and second cycle coaches. They rarely work out. In fact, they have not worked out yet. Why is Mauricio Pochettino the one that could work out? I don't know. They could be, but I think the idea is that this team has had 5 head coaches since 2022, and having one coach stick around for a while would be a good thing. And I think that will help maybe get some stability back into the program. And I know it feels like they're on stable ground, but if you look over the course of the past 4 years, they just haven't. There hasn't been. We've had coaches with 1 foot in, 1 foot out. We've had coaches who signed on and got fired. We've had coaches who've come in and are looking elsewhere, as Mauricio Pochettino did with a few jobs before the World Cup. But of course, he was looking for a new job, and now he's got one. And the hope is that now that he has this job and that he's in place for 4 more years, that he will continue to live by that deal and continue to do everything he can to elevate the U.S. men's national team to heights beyond what they already have right now, which that ceiling seems to be the round of 16 at a World Cup. Can we get beyond that, push through to a quarterfinal, push through to even a semifinal, or heaven willing, a final? In 31 matches as the men's national team head coach since he joined in September 2024, Pochettino's record, 17 wins, 12 losses, and 2 draws. But at the World Cup, despite the ending against Belgium, he set records for most World Cup wins by a U.S. men's national team head coach at a single World Cup and also in general, and led the team to its first knockout stage win since 2002 and just the second in its history. So he has those highs. He also has the lows of that March and June 2025 string where he lost 4 straight. He had a 5-match unbeaten streak from September to November of 2025, and then kind of fell off the rails in March against Belgium and Portugal, but still was able to take this team to the round of 16 for the World Cup, which is exactly where, at this point now, it feels like we all should expect them to get, because as the 16th ranked team in the world, you get to the round of 16, you're batting your weight at least. So we're at least at the Mendoza line, and now it's time to aim higher. Now, what's next? I think when it comes to the men's national team, the one thing that Mauricio Pochettino hasn't done is win a trophy. All the other coaches before him have won a trophy of some sort, whether it be a Gold Cup, Nations League, what have you. But a trophy needs to be won. And so gone are the days where people are expecting us to take tournaments off. With this newfound hype train around the men's national team, the interest of soccer from fans all across the country, now the expectation is to deliver on this jump, this leap, this growth in interest. We have to deliver, and the way that that happens in the United States is by winning. So in the next year, before World Cup qualifying starts in September, October of next year, we have CONCACAF Nations League. We have the CONCACAF Gold Cup. Everyone who has listened to my voice knows what I think of the Nations League. I think is the greatest tournament because it allows us to go to islands, but it also allows us another opportunity to show dominance over CONCACAF. And for the first 3 iterations of this tournament, we did that. But we need to figure out now how to reclaim the trophy for the first time, because Mexico has it. Mexico has the CONCACAF Gold Cup. We have to win that. Those are things that people now expect us to do, and they expect us to put out the best team possible to do it. But at the same time, there is going to be transition over these next 4 years for Mauricio Pochettino, and he has to be correct in some of those decisions. Whether it's who we bring back, whether it's who we say goodbye to, whether it's the younger group, and by younger group, I mean the under 23s. We have to oversee a team now going to the U20 World Cup. We have the Olympics in 2 years where the U23s plus a few overage players would be able to compete. But though that's the future of this national team. Some of those players have to be involved in this national team when we get around to World Cup qualifying, especially if we qualify for the 2030 World Cup. We cannot rely on the same guys that we had in 2026. That's part of the growth of this program, is to figure out who the next players are going to be. Going out and getting Noah Kai Banks, recruiting a Xavier Gozo, Kevin Sullivan, seeing what he can do as he turns of age. He turns close to 18 and he starts to go abroad. But before that, when he's at Philadelphia and he's arguably their best player, bring him in and see what's up. And that's where some of these friendlies coming up could serve as opportunities, but also the Nations League quarterfinals are in November. So we get right back to competitive matches in November with an eye on the CONCACAF Nations League finals in March, and then again preparing for the Gold Cup next summer, which could be held in Mexico, could be held in the United States. We will see. But winning trophies has got to be part of this program, because a lot of people are still thinking that the United States has to look beyond CONCACAF. And to qualify for a World Cup right now, you have to beat CONCACAF. You have to beat these teams. You have to be the team that entering, if you're the top 16 team in the world, you should be winning trophies. Doesn't matter how easy you may think it is to get to those trophies, but you still got to win them. And there was a while where we had them all. For a few years, we had the Nations League trophy, we had the CONCACAF trophy, Gold Cup trophy, we had the U20 championship, we had the U17 championship. We up and down every single CONCACAF trophy there was to be earned, the United States had it. And now we don't have any of them. And the U20s lost in the final to Mexico. Mexico holds all of these trophies. And so now we have to figure out how to get those back. And sure, Mauricio Pochettino is not going to be involved in the youth part of things, but he's going to have some influence in how those decisions are shaped, because the senior national team is what kind of sets the agenda for everybody else. So he has to be a part of that equation. He has to be figuring out how to scout guys and get them into positions where they are playing terrifically for their club on a regular basis. They're starting on a regular basis. They're getting better, and then translating that to the national team. And he has to get the most out of those players. But now being a part of this for the next 4 years, hopefully, right? Because things can change, obviously. This can help, again, bring some stability and then some continuity. And guys will know what to expect and hopefully go out and bring that. And that will mean, for Nations League, not leaving guys at home for the Gold Cup. It means some of those guys who say that they're the stars, they got to show up and they got to deliver, because all of these other teams are bringing their A squads, and gone are the days where we can bring a C squad and win this thing. We have to show that these are important. And now, with the rising interest in this game and in this national team, we have to show fans that we take every tournament seriously. And so that means bringing our A lineups where we can. Obviously, you have to be strategic sometimes with who you bring, but bringing our A lineups for all of these tournaments moving forward. We can't rely on having Copa America, though it seems like, according to reports, that we will be involved in it in some way. But we can't rely on that. We can't rely on the Olympics. We can't rely on just World Cup qualifying for people to sustain their interest. We have competitive matches coming up this fall. And we have a whole tournament next summer to look forward to. So we have to get ready. We have to qualify for the Gold Cup by getting to the CONCACAF Nations League finals. And then let's win 2 trophies in 2025. That should be Pochettino's approach. And I'll be curious to see how he continues to evolve this national team under his tenure. So it's a waiting game, obviously, but we're not going to have to wait long to see this national team back on the main stage. Speaking of the national team, and speaking of this fall, before the Nations League quarterfinals in November, there are some matches that will be taking place in this newly created September-October window for the men. The women will also have games in October. They don't have a September window anymore. They now have an October window, and we'll talk about their games in just a second. But for the men, it starts on September 26th. Their first game since the World Cup will be at Inter.co Stadium in Orlando, and they'll be taking on Peru. They then move on to St. Louis Energizer Park on September 29th to take on Chile. And then they get a few days off. They move out west to Glendale, Arizona, outside Phoenix. State Farm Stadium is the scene. It will be Mexico once again on October 3rd. And then finishing out this double window will be a match against Canada on October 6th at Allianz Field in St. Paul, Minnesota. 4 friendlies, because the Nations League is going through the group stage and the United States has a bye through the group stage of Nations League. I'll save my rant on that for the World CONCACAF podcast in another day. But 4 friendlies, and again, 4 decent friendlies to get this team back into the swing of things after the World Cup. Peru and Chile, of course, CONMEBOL teams. CONMEBOL is really the only confederation outside of CONCACAF. The 4 teams, the 4 best teams of CONCACAF that aren't doing anything with regards to qualifying or Nations League or something like that. So we get Peru, we get Chile, which I think are 2 solid matchups. And then, of course, we get the other co-hosts of the World Cup, Mexico and Canada. It felt like there was a given. I know we didn't want to necessarily play them so soon after the World Cup, but those are 2 big-time friendlies, and again, a good chance to test us and kind of establish the momentum here of saying, hey, it's a new cycle, and when you look at CONCACAF, you should think of the United States as the top team in CONCACAF. That's how they got to approach it, and it also kind of will be a homecoming of sorts, and I say homecoming because we just played a World Cup at home, but that Peru match will be one, again, the first match after the World Cup has ended. And it's a good way to welcome everybody back into the fold and to say, hey, this is a new cycle. We got 4 more years. Let's ride. Let's do it together. And let's start this momentum and really start to build this national team back up to what we think it could be in 2030. On the other side, we have the women's national team, and they have 2 friendlies in October, both against the number 1 team in the world. So we will have number 1 versus number 2 in the women's rankings facing off against each other. And one of them is right here in my hometown of DC. The U.S. will face Spain on October 10th at Audi Field in DC, followed up by a match at Subaru Park outside of Philadelphia in Chester. That will be on October 13th. And I mean, the last 2 matches before they go to their World Cup qualifying tournament, the CONCACAF Women's Championship, that is a doozy. 1 versus 2. It's a great way to test their mettle against the best team on the planet and the nation which holds now both the men's and women's World Cup trophies. And so for the women, they've kind of been in flux, right? They are having to deal with some injury issues. Olivia Moultrie just tore her ACL. She's out. Emily Sonnet just tore something. She's out for the year. We're getting some players back. Mel Swanson's back in the fold, but it's about time for some of these younger players to assert themselves and show that they can be a part of this and to be the team that can bring a Women's World Cup back home from Brazil should they qualify. This is going to be a big test, and Emma Hayes is going to have to see what she has with some of these players, and can they step up to the ultimate test, which is going up against the defending World Cup champions in Spain. I'm looking forward to this. I'm so glad that it's coming here, so I don't have to move. And then me and my friends are going to drive up the road a little bit to Philadelphia to catch that game and spend some time there. And so I'm looking forward to those 2 matchups. They're going to be a lot of fun and also a huge, huge test to kind of see where this women's national team is before they get ready for Women's World Cup qualifying in Texas in November and December. Let's take a quick break. On the other side, we're going to talk about all of this FIFA mess and what's next for the beleaguered organization and its president. We'll be right back.
Losing weight is one thing, but looking and feeling your best this summer, that's the real goal. That's why Weight Loss by Hims now offers access to the FDA-approved Wegovy pill and Wegovy pen. Wegovy is designed to help you lose weight and keep it off, so you can show up this summer feeling like yourself. With Wegovy at Hims, lose up to 20% of your body weight when combined with diet and exercise. It helps you regulate your appetite, eat less, and keep weight off. Plus, Wegovy is the first ever GLP-1 pill for weight loss, so there are no needles needed. Ready to reach your goals? Visit hims.com/FFSN to get a personalized, affordable plan that gets you. That's HIMS.com/FFSN, hims.com/FFSN. Weight loss by Hims is not available in all 50 states. Wegovy is the registered trademark of Novo Nordisk AS. To get started and learn more, including important safety information, Wegovy clinical study information and restrictions, visit hims.com. That's HIMS.com/FFSN, hims.com/FFSN.
This episode is brought to you by PayPal. You had plans for the last days of summer. And back-to-school shopping has its own plans. School supplies, dorm essentials, your list doesn't stop. Neither does the spending. But when you pay in full with PayPal, you can pay over time. No interest, no fees. Check out with PayPal and get back to summer. Subject to approval. Learn more at paypal.com/payinfor. PayPal Inc. NMLS 910457.
Back to school is busy enough. The last thing you need is shopping that makes it harder. Whether you're moving into a dorm, your first apartment, or just getting organized for the semester, Wayfair makes it easy to get everything you need in one place. Furniture, bedding, storage, decor, study essentials, all at prices you'll love, with fast shipping before move-in day. Get everything you need for back-to-school season. Shop Wayfair.com today.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
This message is brought to you by Apple Card. Shave ice by the beach. A trip to the state fair. And a throwback flick at the local drive-in. They're more than just items to check off the summer bucket list. They're also opportunities to earn 2% daily cash back when you use your Apple Card with Apple Pay. Apply for Apple Card now and use in minutes with Apple Pay. Subject to credit approval. Apple Card is issued by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch. Terms and more at applecard.com.
The new LinkedIn hiring pro can't undo your last hire. The human postponer. They were the master of one phrase. I'll circle back on that. But 3 months later, you were the one doing all their work and wondering how big that circle is. But LinkedIn Hiring Pro can take the hiring load off your plate by automating the hiring busy work from the initial job post to scheduling interviews. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
Hey everyone, are you looking for the latest gear for your U.S. national teams, Major League Soccer, the NWSL, or any other team in the world of soccer? The USA Soccer Cast has affiliate partnerships that are ready to help you out. Head to linktree.com/USA Soccer Cast, where we have links to Homage, Fanatics, the MLS store, and Breaking Team. You can get the jersey, shirt, hat, or accessory you're looking for to support your team, while also saving some money and helping this show in the process. Again, linktree.com/USA Soccercast. Click on the links and get your gear. And we thank you as always for your support of the show. We're back, and we shift our attention to the world of soccer. We're leaving American soccer in the dust for just a second because this FIFA mess is out of control, and we're not going to get into all of it. But as it stands right now, there is a big question about what FIFA is going to do when it comes to this election and when it comes to reestablishing trust with the world of soccer and just the world at large. Because Gianni Infantino is, I'll say it, he's being nuts with this plan to sell off the World Cup to private equity. Doesn't matter who was at the helm of it. And in this case, it was the brother of Jared Kushner who was leading the charge to try and buy pieces of this World Cup for profit. But to have Gianni Infantino kind of go rogue from the rest of the organization, only for the organization to kind of put out all these statements, probably with his influence, to show support for him, is just outright outlandish. And it has taken confederations stepping up to the plate to say, this is not cool, and this guy cannot continue in this office with what he's doing right now. UEFA was the first to put out a statement a couple weeks ago saying, after this FIFA forward nonsense came through, they said they were going to boycott all FIFA events until, if that was passed and that was put into motion. They were followed by almost every confederation around the world. CONCACAF came in, Asia came in, Oceania came in. And then finally, there was some tepid, back and forth between CONMEBOL, who wants a 64-team World Cup because they want to get more games in 2030 in Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay. And then Africa, who said they want to hear Infantino out. But there was no need to hear Infantino out when it came to this particular piece of nonsense that he was trying to push through. It ultimately fell apart. And now Infantino's job's at risk because he's up for re-election next year. And before all this, he was in many ways going to be untouchable. Nobody was going to run for re-election against him. He was going to waltz in unopposed and basically get an acclamation vote for what he brought to the table. And that was, despite how he did this, a World Cup that presented the biggest revenue that FIFA has ever seen. $16 billion. And he took that and said, we're broke. We need more money. And I'm sure a lot of federations and confederations were like, how did you get to that? You just brought in more money than you've ever dreamed of. 3 times more than they had ever brought in at a World Cup. And your first response to that was to say, we broke, we need more money. And these guys are going to give us more. It was a power play. It was a way for him to kind of put himself into power forever. And sure, he's following kind of the mentorship and guidance of some people that we don't need to discuss on this show. But now we have this joint statement from CONCACAF, UEFA, and the Asian Football Federation. They put out a joint statement basically saying Infantino's got to go. And there needs to be change, and Infantino is the man that needs to go. He needs to change. And so I want to talk quickly about one aspect of that. In U.S. soccer, a lot of people have asked for U.S. soccer to put out their own statement, and I don't think they need to be putting out their own statement on these things, but they have been co-signing on to everything that CONCACAF has been putting out, saying we are in full agreement. And it's a big deal because, of course, the United States was kind of the United States political administration, government, was the reason why a lot of this is happening. And a lot of these ideas that Infantino has are starting to try and be put forth to go into motion. So for U.S. soccer to kind of go against the administration and say, hey, no, we don't agree with this. This is not this is not good. And we don't approve of this and we don't support it is important. But their statement the other day with the joint statement from the 3 confederations was telling, because they basically said that U.S. soccer joins Canada Soccer, the Caribbean Football Union, and the Union Central Americana de Football, which is the Central American Football Union, in supporting CONCACAF's statement and their joint statement with the AFC and UEFA. They listed every team in CONCACAF except Mexico. And rumors were flying that it was because that Mexico was not really supporting CONCACAF's statement, that they have been siding silently with Gianni Infantino. And the rumors are saying that it's because, at least one rumor was saying it's because Infantino promised Mexico that he would help them move to CONMEBOL if they supported his re-election bid. And they've put out a statement basically supporting the evolution of the FIFA Forward plan and basically supporting Gianni Infantino and saying, hey, we're not going to support trying to take him out and try to, get him out of the presidency. So they're really the only CONCACAF team that's backing him up at this point. And even if they were trying to move the CONMEBOL, and this is something that a lot of people have said the United States should do, if they were doing that because they want to support this guy, then let him go. But you got to punish him. You got to take away everything that they feel makes them successful. And it is all dealing with money. It all comes back to money. Gianni Infantino is putting this plan forward because it will make him more money and give him more power. Mexico would want to move the CONMEBOL because they still think that they can bring anyone they want to the United States to play, but also they'd get the benefit of playing big games in South America, but also having the Argentinas and the Brazils come to Mexico for World Cup qualifying, which are big, big gates, filling up Azteca to play those teams and charging a lot of money. Even UEFA, right, with all of their boycotting and their outright dismissal of these plans and of Infantino himself, they have done this in the past where the money wasn't coming towards them, so they step out in front and say, this is not good for the game. When all these people really are saying, these aren't good for our pockets. And I think at the end, we have to kind of compartmentalize that and show that all of this is about money. If Mexico plays in the United States, it's not because they couldn't find a venue in Mexico. It's because they think they can make more money playing that game in the United States. And by cutting that off, by U.S. Soccer cutting that off, and honestly, if they move to CONMEBOL, they would have to get the approval of both U.S. Soccer and CONCACAF and FIFA to play that game in the United States. Now, that's 3 avenues. FIFA would say yes, but would CONCACAF the United States cut them off? Finally, that's a big question, because that is what's going to allow them to continue to do what they do. If they can't get the money that they would get from games in the United States, where they can get these money grab friendlies in big stadiums and sell them out and get a lot of cash, then that's not going to sustain with them traveling to South America all the time for a grueling World Cup qualifying campaign, where they may not qualify, which will also lose them money. So FIFA has to get their head on straight. And I feel like a lot of these people that are in these positions on the FIFA council, the biggest council, and also the main executive council, need to step up. They need to make sure that this game remains affordable and accessible to everyone, that the World Cup remains affordable and accessible, and not do what we did this year in 2026 with regards to the price of tickets. They need to understand that they are not football. They are not soccer. We are. You, me, everyone. We're the ones that make this thing go round, the people. And they have forgotten that a long time ago. Need to figure that out. Because right now, what they're doing is trying to use the people to throw a wedge between their opponents and their money. And that's not what this is all about. And we are not pawns in this. We are the ones that we want to travel to see these teams play. We want to travel to see our national team play in Orlando, in Antigua and Barbuda, in Australia. We want to see them play. And we're the ones, the money that they're talking about, they're being separated from, is our money that they're being separated from. And so I'm hoping that somebody, anybody, well, it's going to take a few people at FIFA to be the adult in the room, to walk in there and say, this is stupid. And to have embraced the debate, not just for president, but for future World Cup bids. We've kind of eliminated the World Cup bidding process because Infantino has done so well at influencing everybody to make it where he can steer these World Cups to where he wants, to where he thinks he can make the most money, whether it be for him or for the organization. FIFA's a nonprofit, but they should be soliciting the competition. They should be soliciting bids. They should be soliciting debate. They should be in the business of making this game accessible to everyone from Barbados to Brunei. They have to be the world's leaders, but they should not be in it for the power and the money and the glory. They should be in it for the soccer. And that's where FIFA lost the plot a long time ago. So we'll see what happens with this whole FIFA forward thing, also with Gianni Infantino as president. We'll see if UEFA continues to stick by its guns and boycott things. And I hate that they are starting with potentially women's tournaments, because the women should not be involved in this. They've done nothing wrong. And for them to be the pawn that they're using in this chess game doesn't make a lot of sense. And frankly, it's hurtful for the women's teams who have prepared and fought for the meager access and resources that they do get. Now they're being asked to give that up for the men's game. And I think that's just terrible. But hopefully someone can be an adult in the room and put forward a plan that allow FIFA to move forward without Infantino, without some of the corruption that's in that organization, and without some of the BS that plagues everything that they do. But it's going to take a lot of people to do that. It's going to take a lot of people to kind of swallow some pride and say, we have to lead in this thing, and we have to make it where the people playing this game, from the barrios and the neighborhoods to the rooftops, those are the people we need to be putting first. The national teams, making sure that they're able to play games and get to games and have competitions and have it affordable so that their families can come, their friends can come, fans can travel to these games, making that process easier so that more people come and they can't be denied an opportunity to see their team play because of politics. That's where we're at. And a lot of stuff in the state of football is in flux because one man decided to bite off way more than the world could chew. That will do it for episode 197 of the USA Soccer Cast. Thank you for listening. Remember, you can find us on Blue Sky, Twitter, and YouTube. Follow us on all those sites at USA Soccer Cast. Subscribe, rate, and review our shows. It helps us get in front of new people, and it's greatly appreciated. Tell your friends about us. Finally, head to linktree.com/USA Soccercast to check out our affiliate links and our stimulus store. We have everything you need to follow the beautiful game, and using those links also helps support the show. We'll talk to you again soon, y'all. Peace.